So I might have almost died, but I don't think I would have. So I was just filming a video, and I got a prop, and my wife came out, noticing me unhooking the propane tank from the grill, holding this, and she was like, what are you doing?" And I was like, "I have an idea for a video where I have a flame torch and I, in the video." And then she's like, "Inside?" And I was like, "Yeah, but it'll only be for a few seconds." And she's like, "In your tiny home office with no ventilation and sound panels everywhere?" And yeah, you're not doing that. And I'm like, hey, it's all right. It's only gonna be for a couple seconds. Just trust me. She's like, "I need you to trust me. Don't do that." And so you could say that we entered into a bit of a conflict, and I used the conflict resolution tools that, hey, me and Jimmy talked about in our conflict event. Go watch what saved my family's life. Hello. Welcome. Hi, everybody. Welcome. We're turning conflict into connection today. My name is Matthias Barker. I'm just so happy to be with you. Jimmy, how you doing?
Oh man, this is wild. I'm just so happy to be here. I mean, thank you for everyone that's here live with us. This means the world to us. We've seen Argentina, California, Wisconsin, Italy. I saw South Africa. I mean, this is just we're honestly just honored to be here and so excited to share this information with you. We worked so hard on this presentation because we just care so much about your relationship, and we packed it full of so much content. Not to overwhelm you, just because we just want to help. And we know conflict can be a really heavy topic, right? We're going to make it as fun and easy to understand as possible. And the truth is that for some of you, this is going to change your relationship forever. I truly believe that. The light bulb is going to go off. You're going to understand things that you didn't understand before. You're going to see your partner or yourself in a new perspective, and your relationship is going to change in a new direction. And we're just so excited about that, because conflict isn't something that we need to avoid, even though it makes sense that you do, because in the past, it's only led to things being worse, right? You walked away feeling even more unheard or blamed or disconnected than before you started. But we want to change that today. We want to show you the moments that tear us apart can actually be the moments that bring us closer together. It's not impossible, because Matthias and I have both experienced it, and we just want to share that information with you.
Yeah, certainly. That's really the transformation that we're hoping for. So let's kind of walk you through what we're in for today. Here is the plan. So we're going to start with talking about the critical first step in successfully navigating any conflict. And then we're going to talk about 3 practical tools that you can use tonight.
No, please, yeah, but don't get into like a fight tonight. We're not. We just want you to have the tools the next time that you need them. Please don't fight tonight.
No. Of course. Well, and then after that, we're excited to tell you about a course that we've made. We've had thousands of people go through it. I think as many as 10,000 folks have actually gone through this course by now, which is crazy, and had their lives changed, their marriages changed, their partnerships changed for the better. So, I mean, we've poured everything into it. We're excited to tell you about that. But let me just tell you, if you are not here because you wanted to join any sort of program or course, that's totally fine. You're going to get so much out of this call. You did not wander into some sales pitch. We're just excited you're here. We want to just pour resources that hopefully make your relationship incredible. We're just thrilled to be with you. And then we have Q&A after this. So stick around to the end. We're going to have time for questions. Anything that we say here is totally fair game to ask about. All right. Let me just tell you a little bit about myself, maybe introduce ourselves a little bit before we jump in. I'm Matthias. Maybe you know me, maybe you know Jimmy more. Whatever. I'm a psychotherapist. I'm a licensed clinical mental health counselor in the state of Washington. And really what I'm about is just helping people see maybe how the patterns of the past wounds, past trauma impact the relationships that really matter to them in the present. And whether that's couples, whether that's family relationships. I do a lot of work with estrangement. So that's me. That's what I'm up to. Jimmy, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm not a coach or a counselor. I'm just someone who has kind of made it my life's mission to understand relationships better. I've been married for 12 years. I'm a nurse. For the past few years, I've been a stay-at-home dad, which is a completely different career, harder than being a nurse, believe it or not. And I make videos when my kids are in school for the day on how to improve your relationships. I love talking about conflict because I personally know what it feels like to just feel stuck, feel like you're reading out of 2 different books, and how detrimental that can be to our relationships. Because the hard truth that I had to realize is how you handle conflict is going to make or break your relationship. I believe that 100%. Conflict affects everything about our relationships. We can't say we want a relationship with connection and passion, but have no plan for how we're going to handle conflict together. It just simply doesn't work. When one or both partners doesn't feel safe to be honest about what they're feeling or what they need to feel valued in this relationship, trust and closeness and intimacy always erode until there's nothing left, right? And now, of course, I understand that we have to have some discernment with how we bring things up, right? We need to have a culture of appreciation on both sides. We can't just be looking out for things that our partner's getting wrong, always bringing complaints to them. But that doesn't change the fact that there has to be some level of honesty and safety around conflict in our relationship. Because, and maybe you know this, when you remove vulnerability from a relationship, intimacy and connection tend to go with it, don't they? And the myth is we just need to avoid conflict to maintain connection, but healthy conflict is actually necessary for intimacy. And that felt very confusing until I poured into this research all the years ago that I've been passionate about studying this. Conflict is actually necessary for intimacy, because in order to have a strong bond with someone, in order to feel safe with each other, you have to be able to say, hey, this is how I'm feeling about this, or this didn't sit right with me, or can we talk about this? These are some of my needs and boundaries, whatever the case may be. You have to be able to say those things and trust that someone's going to move towards you and want to know your inner world instead of dismissing you. Whether it's unintentional or not doesn't matter. There's a reason Dr. John Gottman could predict whether a couple would divorce with over 90% accuracy based on how they navigated their conflicts, right? Whether there was a chronic presence of defensiveness or criticism or contempt or stonewalling. There are certain things, especially during conflicts, that either build our trust and safety with each other or they destroy it. And his research was unfortunately clear: your relationship lives or dies based on whether you can figure out how to repair and reconnect after conflict. And that's why we're here today. That's why we're so passionate about sharing this stuff, because for me, it saved my marriage. I wouldn't be married today if we hadn't both had to learn how to navigate our conflicts together. And that's the information we want to share with you today.
Yeah, I love that. I think, when it comes to getting conflict wrong, I think we typically kind of fall in one of two directions. Like, I wonder which one you are on the call. Mm-hmm. You could think of one as we kind of fall into attack mode. We kind of are filled with this energy that, it could be like passive aggression. It could be kind of small and subtle. It could be passive aggression, little criticisms, reminders with kind of teeth behind it, eye rolls, grunts, whatever it is. And then it could escalate all the way to like being kind of harsh with our partners, laying into them, insults, contempt, condescension, right? That contempt, like the Gottmans were talking about. It's so normal. And I think for most people, I don't think it starts with any sort of like mean-spirited, desire to be mean. Like, I just think that, when I ask them in a gentler way, they don't listen. They don't remember. They don't take me seriously unless I show up with this big, sharp energy. And so it seems like it's the only way I can get them to respond is when I go on the attack. Does anyone relate to that? Yeah, I think we all intuitively know this, that we know that it's pushing us further apart, yet we feel like, but I don't know how to get them to respond to me. And I just want them to hear me, right? Anyone feeling that? Yeah. I know for the other group here, and I relate to this one too, there's just avoidance. And it's like, it's like shoving it down, not bringing it up. It's almost kind of like we have this emotional credit card where it's like, something's really frustrating me or it doesn't sit right with me and I want to bring it up, but man, it's just going to start this big fight. Is it really worth it? I don't want to ruin the night. I don't want to ruin their mood, right? And so, the thing is, like, we can do this a few times. We can kind of swipe the emotional credit card, just push it off till later. But, especially if you come back around later and we try to bring it up when they're calmer. But over time, these little moments, of just dismissing the things that matter to us, they build up over time, and it turns into a lot of emotional distance. And that's really the debt that I think we feel relationally. To use the credit card thing, the emotional credit card, when we avoid conflict, when we get the bill in the mail, it is in the form of emotional distance, loneliness, anger, sadness, depression. Anyone relate to that? Maybe you started with the attack energy, and then as time's gone on, it's just you're bringing it up less and less, and then you've fallen over to the other side. Yeah, chat's going crazy here too. Yeah, you could think of it like, we attack because we don't want our feelings and desires dismissed, right? Or we avoid because we don't want our feelings and desires to be judged or rejected or ignored, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we end up in this place where I don't feel like I can be vulnerable and share what I'm feeling, right?
Yeah.
And that leads to I don't feel excited about our intimacy. I don't feel motivated to be romantic with you. I don't feel like I want to physically connect with you in the ways that I have in the past. Because I don't feel like you have my back, right? I don't feel like you're a safe place for me to share my desires and fears. I don't feel like you're on my team. And it's so normal for our relationships to drift into these places on accident. I mean, we stress of life and kids and work and stuff like that. We get stuck in these patterns for so long and we end up feeling so disconnected. And we literally think, I just don't know what happened. But what happened was a buildup of lots of those small, seemingly insignificant moments, right? Where someone didn't feel safe to be vulnerable. So they stayed quiet. And slowly, they started to lose hope. And we don't want that for your relationship.
Yeah, no. It reminds me of the Gottman quote. We'll read it here. All fights that go wrong typically have one major thing in common: dismissing our partner's negative emotions. Yeah. Isn't that it? Like, the reason we don't bring stuff up is because we don't want to be dismissed or rejected. And they go on to say that when negative emotions aren't listened to, they intensify because we can't get our partner's attention. So we escalate, we get flooded. The 4 horsemen appear. That's the criticism and defensiveness, contempt, the stonewalling that we were talking about before. And we end up in conflict that is difficult to repair and heal from.
Yeah, and I think it's important to mention here that this doesn't mean we should tolerate someone's hurtful words. This is simply about acknowledging that dismissing our partner's emotions in general leads to distance and disconnection in the relationship. So let's do something different. We can still have healthy boundaries around people yelling at us or calling us names, and we should. We're not saying that just because somebody's having a feeling that they get to talk to you however they want. It's still vital that whoever brings up a concern or hurt or complaint does it in a respectfully vulnerable way. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute.
Yeah, so good. I also love this quote from Sue Johnson also, that when marriages fail, it's not increasing conflict that's actually the cause, it's decreasing affection and emotional responsiveness. The demise of a marriage begins with a growing absence of responsive, intimate interactions. The conflict comes later. That's so fascinating, isn't it? It's not actually tons of conflict that's the problem. It's decreased affection. Emotional responsiveness being like paying attention, giving your energy and focus to the things that matter to your partner. It's kind of like, I don't know, the emotional responsiveness starts to go down, and then in this place of low connection, the conflicts start to go up, right?
Yeah, 100%. Dr. Sue Johnson goes on to say in her book that underneath every fight, we're subconsciously asking these questions. Can I trust you? Mm-hmm. Will you be there for me when I need you? Can I rely on you? Will you move in my direction with love and understanding, even when I'm upset or hurt or frustrated? And in my opinion, because of the damage I've seen it cause in my own marriage, people have no idea how dangerous it is when there's an absence of responsive, intimate interactions. We want to give you the tools and the skills to have those conversations and prevent the disconnection that can come when you can't have them correctly.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of people, on this call today that are like, I want to do this right, like desperately. And I know that it's like, I know that it's hard, but I just don't really know how. I know that there's a lot of people here that have the good intentions and they want to have the conversations and they want to connect with their partners, but I don't know how to bring it up without it starting a fight, without it exploding into something awful, without making everything worse. I've tried over and over. It's just shown that, reaching out to them just feels like a lost cause. If that's you, if you're one of those people that have the intention, that really desires this, but just feels stuck, I just want you to put in there, I want that. Just type in the chat real quick, I want that. If you're watching the replay right now, just put that in your notes. Just type, or just write out, I want that, and maybe circle it, underline it. Yeah, the whole chat is going nuts. I want that. Tons of folks. It's beautiful. Well, let's take our first step, Let's take this first step that we need to take in any conflict. Let's dive in. Here's the reality. First step that we take, actually, it's not an apology. It's not explaining our motives. It's not, I feel statements. It's something actually a lot more fundamental. It's listening and validation. Now, before you just, hold on just a second. Before you log off and you're like, oh, listening validation, like the most basic, obvious thing ever. Just pause for a second, because here's what I know. A few of you, anyone who plays golf, you know that if someone were to describe golf as like, well, you just swing a club and you hit it into a hole, like obviously it's more, complicated than that. Like everything down from the way the grip, pacing, how you hold your shoulders, how you move through, like every little detail has implications on where that ball goes. Sometimes hundreds of yards difference depending on just how you swing. So when I say listening validation, I'm actually speaking very technically here. I want to actually zoom up and give you some really practical, useful skills in listening and validation, because this is so important. And in the same way, we can just describe it simply, oh, listen, just be quiet and open your ears. It's like, no, it's more important than that. I'll share kind of a quick story just to illustrate this point. I was in couples counseling with my wife, Paige, and we'd been married a long time. And here's the thing, like I'm a couples counselor. And so the problem for folks like me is you feel like you have all the skills and you have all the education and you have all the training. So you should just have a perfect marriage, right? And everything should just be completely smooth. And you shouldn't run into any problems. After all, you got all the resources. But lo and behold, I'm a human being that is married to another human being. And we had conflicts that we couldn't figure out. We had this like rotating argument that, man, over the course of like a year and a half, we just couldn't figure out. So we're sitting in therapy with this incredible therapist, one of the trainers, someone who trains therapists. So I went to someone that's just like, the top level skills. And we're going back and forth, and the therapist was like, Matthias, you're not listening. And I was infuriated by that. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not listening. Like, I can summarize exactly point for point what she's saying. And I went into this big monologue. Like, she feels this, and then she said this, and this is why, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then she just looked at me and was like, good theory. Paige, do you feel heard? And Paige was like, nope. And then I just threw up my hands like, well, then it's not my problem. Like, and then I don't know if I said that exactly, but that was my attitude, certainly. I was like, bah. And then she says, Matthias, slow down. I don't want you to describe what she's saying. I want you to feel what she's feeling. And that is a lot more vulnerable. That's a lot harder. Feel what she's feeling. Listen to her say it again. And instead of getting analytical, instead of bullet pointing, instead of rationalizing and analyzing, go here. Okay. All right. So I sat with it, heard her, felt it. And I remember tearing up in that counseling session. And when she saw my face, she started explaining further. And then she started talking about this childhood experience that she went through that was like adjacent to this issue that we were trying to figure out, and how it informed the circumstance. And then I'm like, oh, why didn't you say that? I didn't know that was contributing to this. Of course that childhood experience would like inform how you're responding to this, and that makes so much sense now. And then she's like, I just didn't feel comfortable with you. Like when you were just analyzing and listening with this like hardened exterior, like I didn't feel like I could be vulnerable and really open up. But when I could see that you felt what I was feeling, then I felt trusting enough to open up and really essentially process with you out loud why this is important to me. And it just kind of reminded me in that moment that I'm like, oh, all the skills in the world can't actually get you there. All the perfect ways to word it, all the perfect paradigms can't actually get there if you're not willing to expose your heart. If you're not willing to go there. If you're not willing to get out of your head and meet your partner in a deeper place, in a place of meaning, purpose, their past and future, and their heart. So anyway, I just wanted maybe to set the course on all this, that when we're talking about all these skills, when we're talking about all these tools, these aren't literal like screwdrivers and socket wrenches to figure things out. These are invitations, on-ramps to maybe a deeper conversation where you can feel what your partner's feeling. I don't know, Jimmy, what's coming up for you with all that?
No, I love that. I mean, two things that come up for me when you speak about that is just like how it reminds me of how in my own relationship, like how important humility is, like I hear a lot of humility in there of just like, I need to humble myself in this situation, like let's put our egos to the side. I love that. And just a willingness to try to do something different. If we could get those two things right, like that would change the relationship. I think a couple other things that I want us all to get right is that we need to start with a foundation of curiosity, empathy, and mutual respect. These things aren't like optional. It's not like, oh, it'd be nice if we had them, but whatever. It's like, no, it won't work without it. I need you guys to have this in your relationship, because listening to someone, just like Matthias was saying, like, it means I'm honoring you by giving you the floor without constantly interrupting you. Curiosity means that what you're experiencing is worth understanding. Like, it matters to me. I have a goal of exploring this with you. Empathy means I'm willing to try not to just see your point of view, but to feel your point of view. I'm trying to put myself in your shoes and truly understand your perspective and what you're feeling. And mutual respect means we're both going to treat each other with kindness and consideration, right? We do that both in the ways that we bring up concerns and feelings and in the way we listen, right? We have a, if something's important to you, it's important to me mindset. So we both need to be committed to reflecting before we react, being vulnerable instead of being critical, and being curious instead of dismissing.
Yeah. If you're committed to that, if you're committed to reflecting before you react, being vulnerable instead of critical, being curious instead of dismissing, do you just put that in the chat right now? Just type "I'm committed," right? Maybe just put the word "I'm committed" right there in the chat. Or if you're watching this replay, just write it out, circle it, underline it. I don't know. Let this be something like you're putting a flag down. It's just like, okay, I'm going to try to start this whole process from a different direction. Yeah, chat's going crazy. It's so great. If you're here maybe without your partner and you're thinking about all this and you're like, man, what'd I give if my partner would just come towards me that way? I just want to encourage you that you can start this journey yourself, and that the most powerful way that we can influence our partner's behavior is not through criticizing. It's not through nitpicking. It's actually through modeling and offering the kind of presence that we so desire to be endemic of our entire relationship. So that's a starting point. We can never control our partner, but we can always influence. And that's a powerful dimension of influence, is how we model.
I love that. I'd love to read the next quote if we could. This is a quote by Julie Manano. Every time we snap, defend, shut down, push away, get cynical, sarcastic, use passive-aggressive humor, or call names, it is a misguided attempt to say, hear me, feel some of my pain, so you know how much this hurts. I need to feel safe right now. This isn't about justifying someone who starts conflicts with name-calling or yelling or belittling language. This isn't about giving their criticism or blame a pass. This is about recognizing that when we say, or when we hear someone say, we never talk anymore, you never touch me anymore, you always take their side, those are misguided attempts to communicate what's actually going on inside of our heart. And we need to take accountability for that. Because the truth is, underneath all that energy is some pain, right? We feel hurt or scared. We just want our partner to move in our direction and understand us in some way. So what I needed to realize is that conflict actually had a purpose in my relationship. So just ask yourself, what were you hoping would happen the last time you started a conflict? You were probably hoping they would move in your direction somehow, right? Maybe they would agree with you. Maybe they would see your pain somehow. And I want that for you. I want that for both of you. Those are great goals. The only problem is that criticism and sarcasm and blame only get in the way of that goal, right? They make it less likely that they will ever truly see our pain. So now that we know there's a deeper message than what we're actually communicating on the surface, we can choose a more vulnerable option that might land better.
Yeah. Okay. So how would someone be more vulnerable? Let's start unpacking some skills, get a bit more practical here. So how do you bring up a complaint? How do you bring up like an issue, like something I want to talk about, something we're butting heads on? How do I bring this up with the highest likelihood it's not going to blow up into something awful that makes everything worse? Okay, so the first step is that we have to talk about the event specifically. Our temptation is to talk about patterns. Usually, you know why? Because it's been a pattern of behavior that's been so frustrating that's led up to this point, and we usually have like, a straw that breaks the camel's back kind of moment to where it's like, okay, you always do this. Like, I'm sick of it. But we have to resist that impulse. And just pro tip, bring it up way earlier before it just explodes out, right? Bring it up when it's a 4 out of 10, not a 10 out of 10. But we have to resist the impulse to do general. We have to go specific. We've seen in the research in Gottman studies that the more general the complaint, the more likely it is to inspire defensiveness, right? Because people are quick to point out exceptions. Like, I'm not always spending money. Like, remember that time I returned to the Amazon purchase before you even said anything? And it's just it gets us off topic, right? So if we want, the most razor sharp, form of influence, we have to start with bringing it up specifically. Then we're going to talk about how it made us feel. These are called I feel statements. This is industry standard, but let's zoom up on this and maybe give some like specific tips and cues on how to make these really, really effective. Because we start with saying this specific thing happened. Then we move into a feeling like I feel disconnected or I felt frustrated. But I know that some watching here are like, in the moment when everything's crazy, I don't know how I feel. Like, I don't have like this big vocabulary of words to start bringing up. And the reality is that there's lots of things you could be feeling. You could be feeling lonely or hurt or frustrated or disconnected or scared or anxious or unseen. But if you need like a little like just pocket, like, I don't know, what's the right word? Just something to keep in the back of your mind to help you remember. Generally, these fall into sadness, fear, or shame. Those are the three that I'm always trying to keep in my back pocket. Is this sadness, fear, or shame? Right?
Yeah.
Jimmy?
I knew it was really important for me to learn about actual feeling words. Like I never would actually communicate a feeling regardless of what I was saying. And I think that's a lot of us, whether you fall on the anxious or avoidant spectrum. Even anxious people, we think we're more emotionally attuned. We think we're more emotionally aware. And sometimes we slip up and we don't even say a feeling. You might say, I feel like you don't care. I feel like you're being a jerk. Those aren't actually feelings, right? Those are beliefs and accusations. So start with a feeling. Like keep these in your back pocket, like Matthias was saying. Like we need to have a better language, an emotional language of what we're actually experiencing. There's obviously times where beliefs come into play. We just need to state those as theories, not like accusations. So instead of saying something like, you're so selfish, you never text me when you're going to be late, we can say, hey, when you didn't text me today and then you were late, the story I tell myself is that you don't care about how it inconveniences me, and that just hurts. That's a softer way to share your interpretation without framing it as an attack, right?
Yeah, and I'll just say too, if you notice that step 3 kind of triggers your partner a little bit, like it maybe sends them into a bit of a shame spiral or a bunch of defensiveness, then you might need to wait for this step, because this step kind of depends on something. It depends on just kind of this mutual trust that, you know, just my partner had a fear that popped in my mind or popped in their mind, and they're sharing it with me in earnest. Like they're sharing it with me because they actually genuinely care about what I think. They're sharing it in good faith. They're not trying to like passively, aggressively manipulate me or criticize me. Like, oh, I guess you don't care about me. The only story I can think of is that you're a load of garbage. Like they're not trying to. They don't have an angle. They're genuinely bringing this up to try to get closer to me. And so if that trust isn't laid down, this step may not be applicable yet. Further down in the journey, certainly, but just wanted to make sure you had it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's what we got so far. So how to bring it up. We talk about the event specifically. All right. We talk about how it made you feel. And then an option is that we talk about the story that you told yourself or the meaning that you gave in action.
So here's maybe an example that puts it all together. So, hey, I know it's been really stressful at work lately, but if I'm honest, I've been feeling pretty lonely and disconnected. The story I tell myself is that you don't really want to spend time with me and that work is maybe more important than our relationship right now. And that's just been kind of sad and a little scary, honestly. I would feel so loved if we could plan some time together this weekend because I really miss you. Here's what's interesting. That's actually communicating the same message as saying, you never want to spend any time with me. You're always working or you're on your phone. Clearly, your job is more important than me. It's the same feelings and desires. It's just expressed completely different, right? And I know what some of you are thinking right now, because I would be thinking that exactly the same thing a couple years ago. It wouldn't matter how I said it. They would still take it as an attack, right? And you might be right. Unfortunately, there is no perfect combination of words that will ever make someone respond with criticism or validation. And I just want to remind that person, if they're listening, you know, it takes two for our relationship to work, of course. And you deserve someone who is just as concerned with hearing and understanding your pain as you are with finding the right words so they don't feel attacked. Even if you choose the more vulnerable and gentle option, they might still respond with defensiveness and dismissiveness. We shouldn't feel that way. You know how hard I'm working. I'm working for our family. I told you this was a busy season. And in those moments, it's normal to just feel hopeless, right? We throw up our arms because we feel punished for actually exposing our heart and doing what Matthias and Jimmy told me to do. I'm sharing how I feel. And honestly, I just wish your partner knew that pretty soon they won't bring it up anymore. But that doesn't mean that things are better. It means they're slowly giving up on this relationship. And that's a very dangerous place. This is why it's so important that we both do our part to prevent disconnection in those moments, right? One of those ways is how we express things vulnerably, but the other way is receiving things empathetically. They're both vital if we want to save this thing.
Yeah, right. So let's do this. Let's turn our attention to the other side here, kind of receiving complaints or confrontations, because that can be challenging too. So what if, we think of these statements, kind of think of it like these complaints or something kind of being like a toss, like someone kind of tosses a complaint or an idea or something over to us. This would be the catch. How do you catch what someone's saying in a way that's really effective, that helps the conversation result in something really positive? So let's talk about the validation tool. All right, validation tool number 1. When your partner approaches you with their feelings, their instincts, they want to clarify their intentions or something. When someone comes at you with something like, this thing happened, it made me feel sad. Here's the story I told myself about it. I want to hear your thoughts. What's the first thing we say? Here's an option that I love. I don't want you to feel that way. And what you're essentially saying in this statement is, I care about you, your distress, your emotions matter to me. I don't want anything I do to cause you pain. I'm in this with you. I love this phrase. I keep it in my back pocket. I teach my clients because there's a nuance to this that's so helpful and effective. Because, let's say someone comes at you with a really harsh toss. They say something like, you never appreciate all the hard work I do around the house. It's so hard to know how to validate that. How do I validate that without incriminating myself, without saying, oh yes, I don't appreciate everything that you do around the house? How am I supposed to listen when they're saying something that's not true? Anyone wondered that before? Well, here's the tool, is saying, I never want you to feel that way. You don't appreciate all the work I do around the house. I never want you to feel that way. I don't know, you'd rather be with your friends than me. Oh, no, I never want you to feel that way. Right? It starts the conversation on the place where it needs to be, which isn't on defending yourself or arguing their point specifically. It's actually moving the conversation to the emotional connection underneath. And again, I'm not saying that it's okay for someone to come at you harshly or be verbally aggressive or abusive with you. I'm just, in the real world, people don't phrase things perfectly all the time. And so when that happens, here's an on-ramp to still have a meaningful conversation, even if it's thrown in a harsh way. You can still catch harsh throws, depending on the circumstance. So just a tool that I thought would be helpful. Tool number 2.
Tool number 2 is look for the hurt under the frustration. What is my partner feeling underneath their complaint? So much of the time when our partner is angry or frustrated, there's something deeper, underneath that's driving it. Matthias is really good about talking about anger as a secondary emotion. What's underneath this that we can be curious about? So think about the phrase, all you do is stare at your phone. I'm sure countless people have said that to your partner. We've all, like I said, life gets stressful or something and we're just on our phone and all you do is stare at your phone. Well, what hurt or emotion might be under that? So we have the big 3. There might be some sadness, shame, or fear, but there also might be some loneliness, some disconnection, right? Let's get a little bit more specific. Maybe there's a fear there. Maybe I'm afraid that they don't want to spend time with me anymore. They'd rather be somewhere else. That's a terrifying thought in a committed relationship, right? And I'm not saying that they don't need to learn how to be more clear or vulnerable, like we've said before. I'm not saying you need to read their mind. I'm just saying that it helps if both of us have a mindset and an intention that let's look for the hidden feelings underneath any incidental criticisms. Because another phrase that I love is look for the hurt under the frustration and look for the unmet need under the complaint. Yeah. Because let's be honest, we're all going to slip up. No conflict is going to be perfect regardless of, hopefully this workshop, if you could both do some of the things in this workshop, it's life-changing. I can promise you that much, but we're still going to slip up. And the question is, can we both get a little bit better at looking for the hurt underneath the frustration and the unmet need in the complaint? Because conflict has a purpose, like we said before. What is our partner fighting for more of? Right? There's needs in a relationship. There's valid needs in a relationship. We have a whole section in the course on going through legitimate, valid needs that we both need to be attuned to in a relationship. What are they fighting for more of? More closeness, more appreciation, more independence. Under every hurt is a dream or a desire, right? Something hurts because it matters to them. It helps to ask, what are they fighting for? So let's talk about the third tool. This is when they tell you that they're frustrated, they've shared their emotion, they've talked about the story that they're creating. What's another way that we can validate them? And that makes sense. I love this. We're not asking you to agree with their accusations or blame. We're asking you to figure out how their feelings and needs make sense to them. Once I'm curious, once I ask the appropriate questions, once I understand them, I can say, yeah, I can see how that makes sense, why you felt anxious or hurt, right? I can understand that. Because at the end of the day, when we're vulnerable with how we're feeling or what we're needing, truly everyone just wants to be heard by someone that they love.
Yeah.
You're not crazy. You're not crazy. What you're feeling makes sense, and it matters to me, right? I mean, we all want to hear that on some level, or else that's why maybe we stopped hearing that a long time ago, and that's why we're not vulnerable anymore.
Yeah. Essentially, we're just saying, hey, I trust that what you're experiencing or feeling makes sense to you. That's like what I was talking about in my therapy session example earlier. We're not validating the truth claim. We're validating the emotional world, the context. We're saying, I trust that what you're experiencing, feeling makes sense to you. So let's go over a quick refresher on some of the invalidating responses, that we're avoiding. Because here's what not to say, right? So, hey, you're so sensitive, or stop being so dramatic, or you're making a big deal out of nothing. You're just being negative. This is just the way I am. I was just kidding. I guess I'm the worst, right?
Oh, tell me in the chat which one you hated the most, which one you hate hearing the most, because I think we can all agree we hate hearing those.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, like those self-pity kind of statements, I guess I'm just the worst. Self-pity is not validation, okay?
Yep.
I'm the worst, you should just leave me. Stuff like that, that's shame, right? That turns the attention onto yourself, not drawing attention on your partner.
Yeah, that's so true. It makes everything about you. Someone was reaching out, trying to share something important. Maybe they were even asking for comfort or care in some way, and now they feel like they need to comfort you. There's that completely shifts the entire energy. It makes someone less likely to ever want to bring things up to you. And when that happens, it's just important to note, it's not that we need to do our partner's work for them, but when that happens, there's almost always unhealed shame. I'm sure Matthias would agree. Yeah. And it's our job. If that's us and we're like, ooh, that's me, I do that. It's our job to get the help that we need so we can actually stay present and emotionally attuned to our partner in those difficult conversations. All right, let me take the validating phrases. I'm lucky enough to take the validating ones. Thank you for telling me. I use this one all the time, not to the point where my wife feels like it's fake. I just love it. If somebody's vulnerable, if I pick up on anybody, it doesn't matter, friend, parent, partner, if somebody's telling me something vulnerable, I want to reward them immediately. And so I make sure with my energy to be like, thank you for telling me that. Because it's not easy to be vulnerable. And so if somebody is, thank you so much for telling me that. I never thought about it that way. It's a great way to just level, let's make sure we all know that I'm on your team. You know what I mean? If somebody's talking about something, oh yeah, I never thought about it that way. It's so much better than just, well, have you thought about this? Or something like that. It makes sense that you felt that way. We've already talked about that one. These are validating phrases, meaning this helps our partner to know that we care about what's going on inside of them. Summarizing is a great way. Okay, so when this happened, you felt this. Did I get that right? That's just showing I care. I care. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Oh yeah, I would have felt the same way. Or sometimes, if I'm talking to people who might struggle with avoidant attachment, they are like, I have no idea what to say. I mean, you can tell me what to say, but in the moment, I'm like going blank. I hope that you could still remember, even if you did nothing to say, I'm not sure what to say here, but I want you to know that I care. Yeah. I'm not sure what to say, but I hope you know that I care about what you're going through. Yeah. And so many people don't know what to say when somebody else shares a feeling. Mm-hmm. I know. You kind of start to shut down, what's happening, in my body, but I feel like something's going wrong. We just need to remember step one of staying present is, I don't know what to say here, but I really do care.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into some examples, because at this point it can feel like, oh, there's a lot of steps and a lot of phrases and a lot of things I need to remember to say. So let's actually make this a bit more concrete and see how this actually works out, right? Okay, so let's say, some examples, like, you never take me out anymore. All right?
Yeah.
Here, actually, I want to make this, Jimmy, I want to help you out. I just want to make sure this feels really, hold on.
You want to help me out? We're live.
I just know you do your best work.
Oh, okay.
You always do your best work when there's someone in a wig. All your videos.
Wow. Okay. You look like a rocker from the 80s. I'm not going to lie.
I don't know where to.
You can't.
How do I exit?
Find the face hole there. How do I exit? Oh my gosh.
For those who don't know, Jimmy's always wearing a wig, and sometimes I get jealous. I'm always doing these serious videos. I never get to.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. That is. Wow.
Hey.
I got to be honest with you.
Anyway.
You
So,
you didn't even do it right.
Let's dive
you
into
didn't
some
even do
examples.
it.
Do you feel
This
better?
is the appropriate way. Okay? You have to
Oh.
take care of your things. Okay? You have to take care of them. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and let's go ahead and get back to normal here. Okay. Can we move on? May we please move on? Okay. All right. So where were we? Okay. You never take me out anymore. Okay, this is a very important. Okay. Here is the problem. Here's what they hear you saying. You said you never take me out anymore. Here's what they hear you saying. You're failing in this relationship, right? They hear you saying you're a disappointment. You're lazy and unromantic. But what you truly meant was, I've been feeling lonely and rejected since you've been working so much, and it helps me feel valued when you take me out. I miss you. Are you back?
My audio cut out, so I'll be honest. I knocked out an AirPod when the wig came off, and I couldn't hear a thing for a good solid few minutes there, and I was just trying to play it off. And I don't
You didn't
know
miss
what slide
anything.
we're on.
You didn't miss
I'm
anything.
back, though.
We're okay. We're on
Were you
how would
helping
you
the good people
validate
with?
Yeah, I was. All right, we're on how would you validate this harsh toss?
Oh, good.
Next slide over. Next slide.
All right, we're back.
Yeah. Someone said Matthias wasn't listening appropriately.
I validate. All right, how would we validate this harsh toss? Let's go tool number 1. Okay, you never take me out anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that could sound like I just don't want you to feel that way is really just a kind of a catch-all phrase that I think works really well. But then, kind of moving further into the conversation, we might say, like, looking for the hurt under the frustration, something like, I don't know, sounds like you're sad and that I've been so busy and it feels like romance hasn't really been a big priority. So notice that we're looking underneath the frustration to something like sadness. And we're seeing if that, and by the way, you don't have to feel bad if you're just guessing. They'll correct you. But I think just the attempt to try to get at a deeper underlying emotion, I think just shows an intentionality and a curiosity that really builds a lot of rapport. And then tool number 3, like, let's say they respond to that and say, oh, look, yeah, it's been forever. You come home so tired every day. I don't feel like we connect, and then tool number 3, that makes sense. Because you're going to want to say, what do you mean we never connect? But if you can actually get there emotionally with them right out of the gate, it's going to build so much more rapport as you move further into the conversation. Because that could, move into shifting into making a plan for your next date. So let's move into an example that's a little bit trickier, though. Let's say, go ahead, Jimmy.
Yeah, we touched on this earlier. It's like, well, what if I bring a perfectly worded complaint or expression and your partner just shuts down or stops talking to you? Kind of like the stonewalling that we talked about earlier. Who's experienced this in the chat? I guarantee there's plenty of people that's like, I've worded things perfectly and gosh, they still shut down. You know what I mean? So here's the reality. When we shut down, it's often because we don't know what to say. We don't want to end up saying something we regret, or we don't want to make it worse, or our mind just goes blank. Like we talked about that before. But on the receiving end of this, it's normal for our partner to feel like, I must not be valuable to you. You don't care enough about my pain to actually listen to me. And you might feel like, well, I don't understand why they would think that. Like, I didn't say anything. But the reality is silence has a message, and they're left to interpret what that silence means, But you're stuck. You don't know what to say. And I don't know why you shut down. Sometimes we go silent because we're being yelled at. Other times we go silent because they don't seem interested in your perspective anyways. Or if you have an avoidant attachment, you go silent because conflict feels so unsafe. When they talk about their feelings and needs, it triggers our shame, right? We get overwhelmed and we perceive their vulnerability as them saying, you're not good enough. Yeah. And that's terrifying.
Totally. Well, and let's talk about the other side, because when your partner shuts down, what do you do? Because let's say that you're on the receiving end of this and your partner just kind of starts talking. Like, what do you say? What do you say when you just see that wall go up, that blank face? I always think responding to silence, I like to pause and zoom out. I don't think you're going to get very far if the other person got off the train. So
100%.
Until they're back on the train, you need to talk. So something like, let's slow down for a second. What did you hear me say? I think that really kind of opens up where maybe they heard a criticism, maybe they felt insulted, maybe they felt dismissed, and that needs to be addressed before you can continue on. And then how would you deal with that? Well, use tool 1. Oh, I don't want you to feel that way. They may say that they're worried that they're going to make things worse, that if they keep talking, it's just going to spiral. And then you say, I don't want you to feel that way. See, tool 1 is like such a great pocket phrase that can be used all the time. They may say, well, my mind just went blank. I don't know. And that's fine too. What you do in that moment is you just take 10, 15 minutes to go get a drink of water, and then you come back. Easy.
Yeah.
I think we all get kind of nervous. Well, go on, Jimmy.
No. I think it's so important because sometimes we're so resistant to like taking those breaks. But when we truly get flooded, and when you struggle with getting triggered, I view that as a weakness in my relationship. I don't want to get triggered. But the truth is, like, it's really, really mature to know our triggers and to know, like, I think I'm shutting down. Like, can we take a break? The thing that makes the biggest difference between immaturity and maturity is, am I taking a break with the intent to come back and like talk about this again and reconnect, or am I just going to avoid it? That's what makes all the difference. So my avoidant partners out there who know that I love you, like, take a break, but reassure them, like, I'm coming back at this time, and let's have this conversation because I care about what's going on.
Certainly. That's really good.
Yeah. Here's the deal. So in most of these scenarios that we've talked about so far, you should have recognized that there's something that you could probably have done better, right? There's something that you need to take accountability for. And I think it's just so important in our relationships that we lean towards mutual accountability, because I want the best relationship possible for you. And if there's 2 people listening that have gone through some of these cycles, here's what it might sound like that will really feel validating to your partner. So here's one of them. It makes sense why you were scared to be vulnerable with me. I took a lot of what you said as an attack, and I dismissed and invalidated you. And for that, I'm so sorry. I can see how that left you feeling pretty abandoned and alone. That makes sense. I'm committed to learning how to be a safe place for you emotionally. My avoidant partners, take a screenshot of this. I'm not saying you need to say it directly. I'm saying that this is the energy that you need to bring into taking accountability and starting the repair process. All right, if you've screenshotted that, let's move on to the next one. I realized that I was leading with a lot of criticism and blame. I wasn't actually being vulnerable with you. That was wrong, and I'm sorry. I bet that left you feeling pretty unappreciated and unfairly attacked. Like I was only looking for ways that you were messing up so I could call you a failure. I don't want you to feel that way. I want us to feel like a team, right? And if this doesn't feel possible now, that's okay. These responses are possible, and we take you through that arc in the course of how to get here, where this feels more natural. This feels, we know what steps need to happen beforehand, because I feel like probably I'm jumping to the end where you're like, oh, wouldn't that be nice? But in the course, we do such a great job at learning about our triggers and fears and how to be vulnerable with each other, how to listen without defensiveness. So we can get you here.
So good. So just to summarize, we told you there'd be 3 skills, but there's 7 skills. How about it? 3 skills depending on where you're at. So we have the toss, we have the catch, even a bonus skill of what to do in silence. Now, here's the reality. I know that, some of you are stoked to try this out. Like, I get it. Like, I feel like not a lot of people talk about like the actual wording that's helpful and like breaking it down really practical. Sometimes people are talking about theory and it just kind of sounds all like up here, but having like some concrete skills can be so helpful. So some of you are stoked to try this out, I don't know, upon the next conflict. But I know others of you are like, okay, here's the thing. Like, I don't know if this is going to work in my situation. Like I get it. These are good like principles, but they're very general. And if you knew my circumstance, if you knew my situation, you'd see that these would probably kind of fall flat. And I think the main weaknesses of a lot of these kind of tools are that they're kind of generic, or they're kind of principle driven. But we have a solution for that. So in our course, we have like this customized tool to kind of apply these kinds of skills in a very specific way, not just to you, but also your partner. So to mix and match the type of person you are, the type of person your partner is, and then how these skills can be worked and kind of custom fit to you. So I actually want to show you that. So in the course, we have that tool, but can I show you that tool? Is that okay? I'm just going to open it up and kind of walk you through it. It's a part of module 1 and 2, but I'll just show you. So this is from our Stuck to Secure course. Yeah, we did it last year, like I said. We've had thousands of people go through it. It's just been so delightful. If you go on the page that we'll have a link to, there's a video of people that have been through it and just talking about their experiences. That's so sweet and heartwarming. You got to check that out. But it's just been a really wonderful time getting to see that. But here's kind of how the tool is built. So in module 1, you have these 4 ways that couples get stuck. You kind of discover these cycles that create conflict. So instead of feeling misunderstood, you can recognize and break free from these patterns. So this first stuck cycle is the pleaser, and I title this stuck cycle, "I'll take the burden." So read this and tell me if there's anyone here who relates to this. This partner wants to seek connection while downplaying what they genuinely need or desire. The partner misses cues or takes advantage of flexibility and generosity. And then, they feel disconnected and respond with passive aggression, bitterness, or subtle manipulation. Like little reminders, little just kind of digs. Nothing really mean-spirited, but just it kind of boils up, And then the other partner starts to get angry or shut down at that behavior. And so the pleaser represses all that, to fix the disconnection. They feel guilty and they feel bad. And then they try to seek that connection while downplaying what they need and desire. And it just continues and continues. Anyone? Yeah, the chat is like, that's me, that's me. Yeah.
That's me, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, here's what's happening behind the scenes. We kind of have this whole breakdown for every profile. We have this breakdown where we talk about kind of the overview, what folks like this relate to, their basic fears, their basic desires, childhood wounding that could contribute to this, triggers, how pleasers grow. And what's so cool about this is this isn't just for you, it's for your partner. So you can read through, and it's like you literally get a cheat sheet on your partner and how they work and how they tick. And this is like compiled from over 120 years of psychological research that has been moving through these different types. I kind of walk through it in the course where this is how this is all compiled. But it's really the ultimate guide on what's going on in your partner's head so that you can leverage that into having connection. So we break down, the different styles. Here's a few other ones. So we have the pleaser, we have the dominator, we have the feeler, right? We have the avoider. So that breakdown, just like you saw for the pleaser, is there for all of them. And then we also kind of include where each type gets stuck and doesn't realize it, how to engage each type, how they need to grow, how they want to be loved. This is vital information. Before I found out about this stuff and, compiled this just within my research and work, when I came to these insights, I feel like it just made the biggest difference in my marriage with my wife in particular, because me and my wife are so different. I don't know if anyone else relates to this, but have you just tried to love your spouse, but then you realize, wait, I'm loving them in a way that I want to be loved, maybe not in a way that they receive love.
Mm.
We know this kind of with love languages. It's kind of similar. It's like we give gifts, but they're the kind of person who needs quality time, or whatever combination. This is really similar, but it goes 10 levels deeper. And so that's really kind of the insight that I wanted to make sure to get to you. So just so you kind of know what is involved in the course, and then we're going to get to some Q&A. Module 1 is the 4 ways that people get stuck. You saw that. Module 2 is the toss and catch technique, but contextualized depending on the different types that you are in your relationship. So that's pretty cool. It's like we take a lot of the stuff from the Gottman literature, from the EFT literature. We kind of synthesize it down so that it doesn't feel psychobabbly. So you're not reading through pages and pages of deep psychology content. I know that maybe if your partner wants to watch this with you, we just knew that they probably don't have a personal interest in this like we do, on an academic level. We just wanted to get to the goods quick and make it simple, so that it could be actionable, right? And it's broken into small sections too. So if this is something you want to do, you want to watch a module or kind of tune in on your drive to work or on a lunch break or when the kids are napping, or something like that, it's very digestible in that way. It's not super heavy. It's not going to throw off your whole day. You're going to be able to kind of move through it one piece at a time. So really accessible in that way.
Yeah. I love how we go through the tosses and catches, because there's so many different varieties of, how we toss things to our partner and how we catch. And you touched on this earlier, just sometimes there's going to be a harsh toss, but we can still learn how to catch those. And we can also still learn how to hold our partner accountable. Hey, that's a really harsh toss. It makes me harder. It makes it really hard for me to catch that. Here's what a soft toss would look like. And I can respond in the way that I know you want me to. Let's move on to module 3. You probably already have already. I think that we have a bad habit of thinking that conflict just happens in a vacuum, but the truth is the overall health of our relationship, the habits of happy couples, play a massive role in our conflicts. The single greatest determining factor in whether your conflicts get repaired or not isn't whether you find the perfect words. It's whether both of you have a full or empty emotional bank account with each other. That's what makes all the difference. So you need to learn how to prioritize each other again. Yes, you need to learn conflict resolution and attunement and how to say the right things, but you also need to learn how to build back your emotional bank accounts, because that's where we actually draw from, right? Like that when in a conflict, that's how we feel like we're on each other's team still. So we need to feel like teammates, and we show you in this module how to do that again.
Yeah. And then module 4, we kind of just go through an a la carte thing. We went through our DMs and just got the biggest questions that we get asked over and over. So like, what if they're a narcissist? What if I do everything right, they're still defensive? What if someone has a trauma history? How do I navigate conflict around affairs or betrayals? What counts as a valid need, and more. So let me just get to the cost, then we're going to get to Q&A. But so generally this retails at $4.99 or $3.99. So you've seen that kind of, if you've gone to the link in our bios, on social media or anything, year round, it's at $3.99. And that comes with the free workbook. It also, this time, we're actually going to be throwing in a Q&A, which is pretty exciting. So that's going to be later this month. There's a couple different times for that. You got the workshop, the workbook, the live Q&A. But we're not doing it at $3.99. We're actually cutting that in half for 7 days to $1.99. So it's kind of ridiculous. Transformation, like things like I said, go watch that video on the page. You can scan that QR code, and then you can go right onto the page, and you'll see just the stories of people where their marriages were changed and lives were changed just through this. I know that my life has been changed through this. My marriage has been changed through this. It's stuff that actually has, time shown consistency and trustworthiness over this past year. Yeah.
I love that. And as always, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you watch it and for some reason you just don't feel like it's for you, no problem. 100% money back. We made this as risk-free as possible. And honestly, I just feel like this is a steal. And I'm not just saying that. This is the price of one therapy session. And you get full insight and exercises. I mean, this is the stuff that we're so passionate about. We pour over this information. We read dozens of books over this information. We're giving you everything that we have for $1.99. I mean, this has been proven to make a difference in couples' lives. We're actually saving money, because if you purchase this and actually embrace this material, you don't have to go to as many therapy sessions down the road. Like this would have saved me countless thousands of dollars in therapy. You heal even faster, right? You have a deeper understanding of this information. It makes therapy exponentially easier. I promise you that, because everybody just understands each other. So if you're worried about this is a risk-free investment. Watch it. If it doesn't resonate with you for some reason, which I know it will, but if it doesn't, there is no problem. Money back. And if you're worried about your partner not joining in, you can start solo. These tools and phrases and skills, we have to learn them just as individuals. And like Matthias said earlier, like we can't control our partner, but we can influence them. And when you change the dynamic of the relationship, like the whole relationship changes, the trajectory changes. So one person can change it towards a positive direction.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's get into some Q&A, yeah? Let's do this. We're going to look through some questions. Jimmy, why don't you kind of look through the questions that were upvoted first? We'll hang out for another 10, 15 minutes here. Can you touch on repairing after betrayal and broken trust on both sides? Yeah, I like the idea of both sides being connected here.
There's definitely, yes, we definitely touch on that on both sides. But of course, in the initial stages of betrayal, depending on how large the betrayal is, it's extremely normal for the betrayed partner to take center stage. That's important by design. That hurt needs to take center stage. It doesn't mean that the person who did the betraying, that there wasn't hurt from their past as well, and that hurt needs to be attended to, but that is not the immediate concern, if that makes sense for everyone. Like, that hurt deserves to be attended to, but that needs to take a backseat to the raw and visceral betrayal, depending on what it is, obviously, but we're talking about larger betrayals here, and we touch on that in the course.
Well, and I think on the other side of it, it's like, for the partner who does the betraying, there was often a lot of patterns that have really frustrated them for a long time that kind of led up to their decision, to act out in that way. And that's not to excuse anything. I'm just saying that on that side, it can feel really frustrating for the betraying partner to feel, let's say, like emotionally neglected, and then they act out in this way. But then, in therapy, they, are the bad guy. And that just takes a lot of, I think, emotional stamina. And really it kind of boils down to the question of like, okay, if you're the betraying partner, what do you want? Do you want to repair this thing? Do you want to make amends? Or are you going to move on to a different relationship? And that's everyone's going to answer those questions differently. But if you're in the position of wanting to make amends, if you're saying, oh, I'm sorry, I'm remorseful, I want to repair this relationship, then part of the journey is having the emotional regulation and the patience to listen to how this experience has affected your partner, and to not get bitter, to not take superiority, to not feel unjustly villainized, because it's easy to be like, well, hold on, I'm not the only bad guy here. I get that I'm the one acting out, but they did a lot of bad things leading up to this too. Patience. It's not so much that your feelings don't matter. It can feel easy for that partner to be like, well, I guess my hurts in this relationship are just irrelevant. No. It's patience and just order of events. You got to listen to that. There's lots of ways that people cope with emotional neglect and cope with emotional distance and cope with hurt in a relationship. An affair is never a justified reaction to that. You can go to counseling. You can take all sorts of different measures. You can separate. But betrayals in that way are never justified. And so you don't have you're not on equal footing when you make a decision like that. There is a dishonesty there that is profound.
Yeah. This is a tough question, but I'll take it. Why not, right? I'm feeling crazy. I hope you'll help us learn how to deal with chronic liars. Here's one of the problems with chronic lying. This could get so, we could explore this on so many different levels, but we all know that lying breaks trust, right? So there's a reason people lie, usually. So what is the reason that they're lying? Well, okay, maybe people feel like, some people say white lies, or some people withhold information because they're scared, right? They're scared to bring it. Well, I didn't want to tell you that I saw my ex at the grocery store because it would start a fight somehow. And I didn't even talk to her. And somehow they find out that you saw your ex, and they're like, you didn't tell me that you saw your ex, and you lied to me. And they're like, well, I'm just scared to bring things up. Okay, there's a reason people are withholding things. However, a person who is like, hey, I'm interested in why you're lying, or maybe they won't even admit that they're lying. We have to remember that that's breaking trust in the relationship. So do they have an intention or a desire to figure out how to not break trust? If lying breaks trust, which we all know, then we can't just continue on a path of like, well, how do we deal with people who lie to us? Well, unfortunately, now we're talking about a relationship that you will not feel safe in. So you're asking me, how can I feel safe in an unsafe relationship? And that's a very dangerous question. I mean, so this isn't something that we can just sweep under the rug. Well, how can I deal with people who lie to me chronically? It's like, you don't, unfortunately, with distance, because you won't ever feel safe in that relationship. So that's something that needs to be dealt with a therapist. You need to get professional help. They need to understand why they're lying, or else how are you ever going to feel safe in that relationship?
I'm the one pushing for therapy, and have been accused of not meeting their needs because I honestly believe they're being manipulative and gaslighting. They're constantly saying that I'm disregarding their feelings and disrespecting them, but I have my own issues I'm trying to work through. How am I supposed to know if I'm the problem or if it's too far gone to salvage? I think that one of the reasons that we recommend, for example, to keep things specific, and so it's like bring up a specific issue, is because when we kind of have generalities, it can be really hard to nail things down. Repairing a relationship looks like talking about circumstances. And when the gaslighting comes up, like, it didn't happen that way, it didn't this, it didn't that, what we shift to, like, just as a therapist, is like we talk about experience, that two people can experience things in different ways. And just because maybe there's a different memory of the facts, it actually doesn't matter that much. We don't really have to nail down the specifics of the story. We have to talk about the struggle underneath. We have to talk about the dimensions of trust or hurt or love that are shared between you two. And if there's someone that is really hard-lined, like, no, I'm not going to try to emotionally hear my partner, I'm going to dispute all the little stuff on top on the story into infinity, then you can't make progress there. And so I would say if that's your circumstance, then you really do need to get into therapy. And it sounds like in this question, you've been pushing for therapy and then you're accused of not meeting needs. What I would do is I would say something like tool number 1, I never want you to feel that way. I never want you to feel that you're not getting your needs met. Tool number 2, it sounds like it's been really hard for you in this relationship also. And then, instead of moving to step 3, I would say something like, I think I want a space where both of us can feel heard, and like neither of us are made out to be the bad guy, but that we can really get across what's on our hearts. And I think that we've really seen, I think if we could have done that, but we would have done it by now. If we could have figured this out on our own, we probably would have by now. You're very motivated. I'm very motivated. Sounds like you don't have a lot of needs met. I don't have some needs met. So what more motivation do we need, to take this seriously? I think we're taking it maximum amount of seriously. We're just getting stuck. I think there's an insistence of we need something extra to make this work. Like we need either to jump into the Matthias Jimmy course and start moving through that material. We need to go to therapy. We need to go to, if you're religious, like we need to go to a religious leader. Like we need some sort of intervention, because when you and I are we have the same chemical reaction that's going off every time we're together, and we want a different reaction.
Yeah, it really grieves me when I hear people say, I honestly believe they're manipulative and gaslighting. I mean, can we just stop and just zoom out on that for a second? How much trust is in that relationship? Like we're scraping the bottom of the barrel now on the trust. Like we have got to figure out how we can both build back our trust and intimacy. These goes back to the healthy habits of happy couples. Like we can't not care that our partner feels like we're being manipulative and gaslighting. This isn't, of course there's subjective things in a relationship, but if your partner thinks that you're being manipulative, we should be like, oh no, I would never want you to feel that way. Like what can I do to make you feel like I'm not gaslighting you, or that I really do care about how you're going through? I just think that's so important, This one seems easy. Can I take this one? When taking time apart because conflict got really bad, when is it feasible to come back to the table? The literature says when conflict gets bad and you get flooded, that you have to take at least a 30-minute break. And so what you need to do is you need to go take a walk, you need to go listen to some music, you need to go do something. The thing that you can't do is you're not supposed to sit there and think about, what I wish I would have told him? Oh, I wish I would have told him that. Like the thing, you're supposed to take your mind off of it. Do some deep breathing. That stimulates our parasympathetic nervous system, and we can calm down a little bit. Because when we get into fight or flight, it's all just chemicals and hormones of like cortisol in our body and stuff like that. So we have to, that's kind of all about emotional regulation. So when should you come back is like 30 minutes. I'm not opposed to you sleeping on it. Some people say don't go to bed angry. I think that that's a great rule in theory, but if you're upset and it's midnight and you're like, I don't really want to talk about this anymore, can we talk about it tomorrow? And the person's like, no, we need to talk about it now. You're not actually going to resolve anything, because you're like, I need sleep. Like this is not healthy for me to just, what are we going to go till 2 a.m? What is the positive that's going to come from this that we can't pick back up tomorrow? Tell me. It usually just stems from our own anxiety and I want it resolved now. It's like, well, sometimes that's just not healthy. We need to let our partner have a breather. I think, okay, can I take this one? How do you move forward when one person thinks things aren't bad or serious as the other person believes? This is extremely common. Every relationship is going to have something where one person is like, this is really important to me. And the other person's like, that's not important to me at all. Okay, well then what type of relationship do we want to have? Do we want to have a relationship where we both care about the important things of the other person? I don't mean to sound harsh, but to me, I just feel like love requires us to care about what's important to the other person. And if you don't want to care about what's important to the other person, you don't have to. But that comes with a cost. That comes at just like if that person doesn't care about what's important to you, it comes at a cost. So what type of relationship do we want to have? Like when one person doesn't care about the things that we think are important, how are we supposed to feel safe, connected, close in that relationship? So this is something where I would want to talk to both people. Like, hey, it just doesn't work that way. You don't have to be in this relationship. If you're choosing to be in this relationship, then you have to care about what that other person cares about.
I'm curious about the differences between wanting respect and wanting control. And here's maybe what I read into this question is it's hard when your partner says something along the lines of, well, okay, I just don't feel respect. You're not respecting me. When you come at me this way, this is a violation of respect. I think about, couples that I've even worked with where, one person in the partnership, comes from a different country with maybe a different cultural, expectations around what it looks like to approach conflict, or who's in authority, or what respect looks like, on a cross-cultural divide. And I think that the thing that I always kind of zero in on is, are we talking about respect or trust? Because it is not an obligation to trust someone you respect, but you can show generalized respect. Respect has to do, I think, with not attacking identity, insults, and causing harm. But confrontation, is something that's necessary for a relationship. So if you're asking for a relationship where there's no confrontation and trust is immediately given, not earned, then you're in a very different situation than perhaps your values are very misaligned. And so you have to negotiate, okay, do we continue? Do we continue this relationship? Because if we're going to be in a moment where I have to give trust no matter what, even if I see patterns of behavior that don't seem to merit that trust, and respect for you means I never offer a confrontation, even in a gentle way, that's not tenable. That resembles more of a parent-child relationship or an employee-employer relationship. The power dynamic is not shared. It's only one-weighted. And that's not what maybe most people on this call had signed up for. And so I would say that negotiating that way back is probably really beneficial. Do you have any closing thoughts on that, Jimmy?
No, I think you said that beautifully.
Thank you so much for being here, everyone. We'd love for you to join in the course. And we got a Q&A later this month, so we'll get to see all of you there as well. Again, 30-day money-back guarantee. So if there's a part of you that's like, there's this deal today, and I don't know, I kind of want to check and make sure it's something good. Another option, of course, do what is value aligned for you, is to grab it, and then if they're not okay with it, you get your money back same day. So there's not, we're not here to scam anybody or put anyone in our position. That's why we put the 30-day thing. We just believe in these ideas and these exercises because they've changed our lives and our relationships, and we believe that they're going to change yours. And we believe that if you make that decision to enter into this, you're going to have a transformation. There's going to be something really powerful here if you're willing to take that step. So, yeah, thank you for coming,
so
everyone.
Well said. Thank you guys so much. I hope it was helpful for you.
Yeah, we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks, everybody. You're welcome, Bree. You're welcome, Anise. You're welcome, Robin. You're welcome, Sasha and Greg. Yeah, you're welcome, Eric. You're welcome, Adam, Aaron.